Hello and welcome to Youth Open Shop Live. Now, peek behind the curtain. This is a re-recording of a stream we previously did. So, if you would like to join us live and see all the fun shenanigans, please join us on Tuesday at 11 a.m. That's when we're going to be streaming our next live stream. But this one, we want to recover it. We want to cover it because we might have had a couple of technical issues, but your bike should not. No, it's all right if your bike has technical issues, but we want to learn how to fix them. So this week, we're actually going to be going over how to change tire. But as always, we'd like to start out this video. This is a weekly live stream where we want to answer your questions and help you learn more about bikes. I'm here with Kirsty and JP. My name is Ryan. We're here at the Ogden City Bicycle Collective, and we want to answer your questions. So if you want to join us live, go to tiny.cc/YOS-Live, and that link will be down in the description to join us for the Zoom webinar. And if you want to join our, if you're not able to watch this live, well, watch this live when we are live. If you're not able to watch this live, you can still submit your questions. Go to, now first up, we have these links here below. The first one is my email address, ryan@bicyclecollective.org. And that's where you can submit photos. Go over that a little bit more in a second. But there's also tiny.cc/YOS-LQuestion. Now that one, you can go, you can ask a question, you can suggest a topic, you can let us know what you want to talk about here on the live streams. And we'll cover whatever topic, even if we've covered it before. If we feel like we can add more information than what we had before, we'll do it. So please, submit your questions and let us know what you want to hear more about. Now, finally, we also have a newsletter here at the Bicycle Collective, and that way you can stay posted on all the youth stuff, all the volunteering opportunities. That one is tiny.cc/BC newsletter. So please, follow us there and share this with your friends and learn more about bikes and ask your questions so we can learn more too. Because I've learned as much from you guys as I have from doing these in the past. So now this the stream before this, we actually did checking a bike. And then the one after that, we did how to take apart your bike. So this is what's left over. Now, we want to go through and answer your questions about this one and do this thing. And we want you guys to follow along and learn how to patch a tire as well. We're going to patch the tire and learn how to take the tire off and make sure it's all good to go again once we're done. Before we do, we have to cover some safety rules. First up, we have internet safety. Now, internet safety is very important here on the internet, as you know. First up is my favorite rule: be excellent to each other. Always treat each other nicely. Second up is guard your privacy. Always make sure that you keep your privacy in mind when you submit a question. Use your first name, last initial, or you can even submit your question anonymously if you so choose. Now, next up was bike photos. So I put my email before. If you want, we would love to feature your photos of your bikes, but we ask that it be against a plain background. And then finally, ask for permission if you're under the age of 18. Now, we go over these rules in a lot more detail in previous videos, so you can watch those if you want to learn more. We'll also hopefully put these on our website, so that way you can learn the rules, so that way we can answer your questions and host your pictures of your bikes and your bike problems. And yeah, and finally, we also want to talk about work safety. Work safety is very important, because if you're working at home, you want to make sure no accidents happen. First up, use the right tools for the job. Today, we're going to be using tire levers, a wrench, and patch kit. But we'll go over what the incorrect tools and what the right tools are in a minute. Next, ask for help. If you need help, like lifting a giant tub of water, or taking the wheel off your bike, or holding something, always ask. And then finally, always keep safety in mind. The safety of yourself, the safety of those around you, just general safety. Keep it in mind, and then you'll be happy. Then you'll be able to ride your bike safely and happily down the street. Lots of fun. All right, so this time we're actually going to go through, and we took this wheel off last week. Now we're going to learn how to take the tire off of the wheel and the tube which is like the rubber balloon, out of the tire. So this is the wheel from our purple bike here, the purple Pacific Chromium that we've been working on. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the air out of the tube. Now, I just take the corner of the tire lever here. These are plastic tire levers. And I'm just going to stick the corner in there and push the little pin that's in there. Let me bring that pin up close. All right. I don't know if you can see that. This is called a Schrader valve. And this has the pin on the inside. There's also a Presta valve, and I'll put a little picture in the video. But this little valve has the pin on the inside that you have to push down to let air out. You could probably hear that on the microphone. But the Schrader valve actually has the pin on the outside, and you unscrew it and push the pin in. And that's how you let the air out. All right, so I'm going to let the air out of this tire. Usually when your tire has a hole, the air's already out, right? So let's go ahead and let this air out. All right, cool. So we've let the air out. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our tire levers, and on the tire lever, there's two sides. There's a hooky side. It's kind of got the hook like this. And then there's the clip. Now, the clip is rather interesting. So let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the hook side onto the rim of the tire. The edge of the tire. The rim is the metal part. We're going to hook onto the edge of the tire, and we're going to pop it out of the rim. Sorry, I'm on the wrong side of the tire, so I'm having some trouble seeing it, but we'll get there. Boom. All right. So the reason the clippy side exists is that you can clip it into the spokes and then leave it there. So what we're going to do, but it's that way, if you need to, you can insert a second tire lever in there and pop a different part out, making it easier to put in. I'm going to move to the side here, because what I'm going to do, all right, clip that side in, and then I'm just going to pull this towards me. And as I pull, it slides the tire off of the wheel. As I'm going, boom. So I'm going to get one side completely off. And then what I like to do, let me get the other tire lever out, is I go from the opposite side of the stem, or the valve. The valve stem is what it's technically called. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm just going to peel the tube out of the tire, just a little bit, not all the way. And then I'm going to go to the top of the tire. Let me flip it around so you can see. I'm actually going to pop it out and then slide it off. Sometimes you'll need to use the tire levers again to pry that off, but usually you can just do it with your hands or with some help. Always ask for help if this is, I've had to ask for help a lot of times where my tire was just on so tight I had to have one person hold it and I had to use the tire levers, just pry it up. All right, so that pops out. Now this is a good point to talk about the right tools for the job. Now I use plastic tire levers. There are metal ones too, but you always want to be careful that whatever you're using doesn't have sharp corners, because if you use the sharp corners, it could go in and pop the tube even worse than it was before. So always be very careful that you're using things that won't damage your bike. And then also make sure you use ones that are strong enough. You don't want to be trying to pry it open and then for it to snap on you, because one time it snapped on me and it flew across the room and hit someone, and they weren't happy. So always be careful. Now, we're actually not going to patch this tube. This tube's fine. But what I'm going to do is we're actually going to learn how to put it back together real quick, and then we'll go over how to patch the tube. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bang this around a little more. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. First up, let's say you got the tire like this. Now, if the hole on your tube was on the outside of the rim, outside of the tube, you're going to want to check the outside of the tire to see if any thorns are stuck in there. Especially here in Utah and in the western United States, we get thorns that go in there and they just stick in there and they just stay there. So what you have to do is you have to go through and see if there are any thorns still in there. And the way you'll know that is when you look at the tire, there will be a little dot that looks like it's punctured inward. It'll usually be brown or white, and sometimes silver if you've got a piece of wire stuck in your tire. That happens too. So what you do is you just scratch at it with your fingernail, and if it comes off, you're good because it wasn't a thorn. But if it doesn't, sometimes that means there's a thorn down in there and you have to pry it out. And you can use, we have little picks that we use. I don't think I have any on me right now, but you can also use a tiny screwdriver or a pocket knife, but be very careful because you don't want to be picking out a thorn only to have a knife go into your hand. So please be very careful. Anyway, obviously this tire doesn't have any thorns because the tube's fine, but that's how you check. Now what I'm going to do is what I like to do anyway is I like to put the tube back in the tire first. Have it partially inflated, not inflated all the way, just enough to keep its shape. So when you get a new tube and you want to put it in, you just inflate it a little bit so that way it forms, this is way too inflated to put in, but just enough for it to hold its shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stem and insert it into the hole in the rim. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'm going to put one side of the tire all the way on. You can usually do that with your hands. That's not too hard. So one side of the tire is all the way on. I'm going to go over to the other side and put the other side of the tire all the way on, starting where the stem is. So what I do is I go ahead, and this one I actually pinched in. Now, if you need to, you can also, let me pop it out again so that way I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. You can use tire levers to get that last little bit in. But instead of hooking onto the rubber part of the tire, you're actually going to be hooking onto the rim. So you hook onto the rim with the hook part of the tire lever, and you just pop it in, and boom, it's back in. Now this part can be a little tricky, especially if your tire's tighter. And then what you do is you take your pump, and you'd inflate the tire back up to pressure. You want it to be firm, but not super rock hard or else it'll pop. You'll also want to make sure there are no cracks in the tire or that the tire doesn't slip out of the rim. Sometimes if the tire pokes, like it looks like it bulges outward, sometimes that can cause it to pop too. So be very careful. All right, so finally, let's go ahead and learn how to fix this flat. Now this one doesn't have a hole yet. Got my thumbtack, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put an example hole so that way we can show what it looks like and what you'd need to do. So I poked a hole in it, and what you can actually do is you can feel it. Like you can feel the air on your cheek. Obviously you don't want to put it too close to your mouth because it probably doesn't smell good inside that tube. So you just can feel it with your hand, with your arm. You can feel where the hole is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what my favorite method is putting it in the water. So allow us to do some camera tricks and hands. So what you're going to do is you put your tube in the water and then you rotate it around. Now you'll notice that there are bubbles sticking to the tube. That's fine. That's just because the tube caught some bubbles with it on the way down and said, I'm taking these bubbles with me. There's nothing you can do about it. And we said, whatever tube, you can have your bubbles. But what we're looking for is we're looking for bubbles that are coming out of the tube. Now we're just going to see if we can find maybe I didn't make the hole big enough. Well, that's embarrassing. Whenever I want to break a bike, I can never break it well enough. Here, let's put a little bigger hole into it. Oh, where did I put my pin? There it is. Again, it wouldn't be a video if Ryan didn't drop a tool. All right, now it's a hole you can hear. All right. Wow. That wasn't just me, right? You saw the bubbles come out?
Yeah. Is there sealant in that tube?
Oh. You know, that might be a thing. There's such a thing called sealant. JP pointed this out. He's right. If there's sealant in the tube, what'll happen is it'll form scabs like on your skin. If you get a cut, you'll get a scab that forms over it. That happens the same thing. Sealant will go in and form a hole. Form a patch over a scab over the hole. You know what, though? That's okay.
You saw the bubbles for a second.
You saw the bubbles for half a second, and then you saw how quickly they stopped. So if you want to put sealant in your tires, that's a real good point. Go ahead and do that. I chose this tube because of its size, and it was in the recycling, so I figured, okay, no one will miss it if I put a hole in it. But now that I know how good it is, I think we're going to use this on a bike in the future. This is actually pretty good. Okay, so, but at any rate, let's learn how to get this bike patched up. Now, first off is, get my pen and my towel. Boom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry off the spot where the hole would be, if I could find it again. It's gone forever now. And then with a ballpoint pens are nice because they mark and you can see it, but you can't, it won't wash off easily, and it won't ruin the pen if it gets wet. It's a cool thing about ballpoint pens. So now that we've marked the hole, we're going to get our patch kit. Now this is a patch kit. There's other kinds of patch kits that use stickers. I know one brand makes one that's just a sticker that you put on your tire. Those work pretty well. Just make sure that it's a reliable brand and that it says it's meant for bike tubes. This patch kit has inside of it a piece of sandpaper. That's to rough up the tube so that way the patch sticks. And then we've got vulcanizing fluid. Now this it's called different things. It can be called vulcanizing glue or rubber cement, but this isn't your typical rubber cement that you do crafts with. This is special. This is the reason it's called vulcanizing fluid. It has less to do with Star Trek than it does with volcanoes. Volcanoes, when they spew lava, the lava melts, goes everywhere, and then melts with the rocks that are around it. And that's how Hawaii was formed, right? So what this does is this vulcanizing fluid actually melts the rubber of the tube and then melts it to the patch. The patch is made of rubber too, and you can actually use bits of old tire as patches as well. But these ones are nice because they're really thin, they're low profile, but they're very strong. That's why we're using those. So we've got our 3 tools. And let's go ahead and sand it. While I'm doing that, we've actually got a question. This question is from Anonymous. Like I said, you can always submit them anonymously. Is, can I use any glue to stick a patch down? Like, let's say I don't have vulcanizing fluid. Unfortunately, not for very long. The patch can fall off and not stick around for long enough to actually be effective. Oh, and this is a good reason why to mark the hole. Like just then, I forgot where it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to take the sandpaper and I'm going to rough up the spot. Now you don't have to sand it a whole lot, just enough to get that layer of shiny rubber off. So that way the vulcanizing fluid will actually soak in. All right, got some of that off. Get a towel. Now, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of glue. Sorry, this is some behind the scenes work. And I'm going to take it and use about as much as you use toothpaste. And you're going to spread it you're going to spread it to the size of the patch that you're using. So if you're using a little patch like this one, you can just use a size of glue that size. But if you're using a big old patch like this one, let me pull it out. Boom. If you're using a big patch, you're going to need more glue. So what you want to do is you want it to spread all the way over. All right, and there you go. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do the Q&A section earlier, because what we need to have this sit and soak in for a few minutes and let that soak in, so that way the glue can get in there and form with oxygen, so that way it can form that really, really good seal with the patch. All right, so this is a good question. We actually have one that relates to this. This is from Katie from North Ogden. Says, my dad says I have to wait 5 minutes. Does it have to be that long? Sometimes yes. Now it says, all the resources I've found online said says a few minutes. But I don't know about you, but sometimes when I think a few minutes, I really mean 30 seconds. So when you're waiting for something, sometimes it's good just to put it and then put a timer next to it. And if it's 5 minutes is a good timer, perfect. You obviously don't want to leave it sitting for days, because then it'll dry out again. But you also want to make sure that it soaks in well enough that you can put a patch on and that patch is going to stay on. Because if it's on there well enough, you'll actually won't be able to remove the patch ever again. Like, it'll be fused to the tire, like a volcano's lava when it cools to rock. It's part of the island if you're in Hawaii. So yeah, so we're just going to let this sit here for a bit. All right. All right, next, do we have any other questions? Let's see. Oh, one question I have. Okay, this one's from Andrew S. from Ogden. Question, I don't have a patch kit. Can I use duct tape? And I've seen this is actually what I was thinking of. Like, I've seen people try to use electrical tape, or I think I saw someone try to use Scotch tape once. But that won't stay. And duct tape, which is a good thing you brought it up. So electrical tape and Scotch tape, that'll just fall off and it'll get crumpled up and just air will leak out. But duct tape could actually be a problem too, because the air will leak out, but it'll also cause a really goopy mess, and the heat will make it all sticky, and trying to fix your tire after the fact will just be really bad. And this brings up another good point too. If you have a hole in your tire, I have seen people try to put duct tape over the hole that's in the tire itself, where the tire has been worn down, that they put a piece of duct tape. Now that doesn't really help much, because if that duct tape sticks to the tube, you'll go to pull it off and it could even tear the tube itself. So the thing is if your tire, there's a couple things to check for if you have problems with your tire. You want to make sure that there's no cracks in the tire, there's no holes in them, and that the edge of the tire isn't frayed, and because inside, let me pop it out again a little bit. Oh dear. All right. Well, I can't pop it out. Table's a bit crowded right now. But you want to make sure that the edge of the tire isn't frayed, because inside that edge of the tire there's wires. And if those wires are poking out, they could pop your tube, or your tire could fall off because it's too stretched out. Excellent. So I'm going to show you how to put on the patch and how to hold it on there. It hasn't been the full 5 minutes yet, but we don't want to have you guys waiting here for a full 5 minutes where I sit there and twiddle my thumbs, whistle, and just hang out. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. So on this patch, it's got a black side and a silver side. Well, the patch, I'm going to peel the silver foil off the back, and it'll expose the orange side of the patch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the patch on the tube. And now I'm going to hold it down. And I hold it down for 30 seconds, now that the glue's set, and then I leave that on for, obviously, once you put it in, it'll be on forever, right? But you just want to hold it on. Now there is a little plastic film on the outside. You can remove that if you like. It isn't necessary though, because it'll probably fall off on its own, and you run the risk of actually peeling off the patch when it's not all the way set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that there, leave the plastic on, and if it comes off in the future, that's all right, just so long as the patch doesn't come off. So obviously you do want to have it wait, so I would suggest putting it on, having it wait for a bit, and then, putting the glue on, waiting for a bit, and then putting the patch on, and then leaving that for a bit too. Because when it's all done right, that patch will be part of the tube forever. So, excellent. That's all we have for the work portion of the day. We'd like to invite you guys to share this video with your friends. We're putting this on YouTube, so like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that fancy stuff, and let us know. We have, again, my email address is ryan@bicyclecollective.org. If you would like to submit your bike photo or your bike problem, just let us know. If you would like to ask a question or suggest a topic, you can go to tiny.cc/YOS-LQuestion, or you can sign up for our newsletter, tiny.cc/BC newsletter. So, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for watching. You guys go out there, ride your bikes, be safe, have fun, and have a great day.